Hey Reddit. I don't know if this is petty or justified, but I'm still boiling. Maybe typing it out will help. Or maybe you'll all just tell me I should have burned the bridge sooner. Either way, here we go. I'm Tessa, 24, and up until 2 weeks ago, I still believed that my family, dysfunctional as they are, would at least include me in the one tradition we've always managed to keep, Christmas dinner. Every year, no matter how tense things got between my mom and me, or how much my sister Sadie pretended I didn't exist, we still managed to come together for Christmas Eve dinner. It was the one time of year I could pretend we were close-ish. This year felt off from the start. I texted my mom, Deirdre, a few times in the weeks leading up, asking about dinner, what to bring, if she needed help prepping. She replied, but it was vague. Short. We'll see how things go. Things are kind of up in the air. That kind of thing. Then, the day before Christmas Eve, she texts me this. Hey sweetie, just a heads up, we're going to have to cancel dinner tomorrow. Some last-minute changes, but we'll do it next year. Love you. No call. No real explanation. Just a bland message dropped like a memo. I stared at it for a while. Disappointed? Yes. But also, I kind of believed her. That's the worst part. I'd gotten used to being the afterthought. So I made different plans. Grabbed takeout. Watched a dumb holiday rom-com. Convinced myself it wasn't a big deal. The next day, I was out most of the afternoon running errands. When I finally got home, my phone was exploding with notifications. Facebook. Instagram. A dozen tags I wasn't supposed to see. That's when I found Aunt Janice's Facebook album, titled, Best Christmas Ever. And I saw everything. My entire family. Sitting around the dinner table. Laughing. Toasting. Posing in front of the tree with matching sweaters. Even my mom. Even Sadie. Even Natalie, my cousin, who once forgot to text me for a birthday party she hosted at my favorite restaurant. And me? Nowhere. Because I hadn't been invited. Because the dinner wasn't cancelled. Because they lied. And the worst part? Aunt Janice, God bless her, still doesn't understand how privacy settings work. The whole album was public. And I saw it all. I didn't react right away. I just sat there on my couch, phone in hand, frozen in that weird, suspended moment between shock and clarity. The kind of moment where your brain is still trying to protect you. Still trying to convince you that maybe, you missed something. Maybe they sent the wrong text. Maybe this was some weird last-minute thing, and they really were going to cancel, but then it just happened. Maybe I'd find a message apologizing, inviting me late, saying they meant to include me. But that moment didn't last long. Because then the comments started rolling in. Not to me, God no. To the photos. My sister Sadie had posted a boomerang of her and our mom clinking wine glasses with the caption, Christmas Queens, as always. No drama this year. Cue the rage. I stared at that sentence for a long time. No drama this year. Translation? No Tessa this year. And suddenly everything slotted into place. The weirdly vague replies from my mom. The half-hearted cancellation text. The fact that no one, not even my cousin Natalie, who'd asked me just weeks before what I was doing for the holidays, had mentioned a thing. They hadn't forgotten me. They had excluded me. On purpose. And then they'd lied about it so they could keep their little picture-perfect evening intact. My phone buzzed again. A message from my coworker Emily. Hey, I thought you said your fam canceled dinner? Pretty sure I saw your mom in a video Sadie posted. Another buzz. This time from a friend I hadn't spoken to in weeks. So awkward, just saw you weren't at your own family's Christmas? What happened? That's when it sank in. Not only had they lied, they had posted it everywhere. They didn't even try to hide it. No. Family only. Privacy settings. No discreet captions. No attempt to make it look like anything other than what it was. I was erased. Intentionally. And suddenly, the sadness I'd been holding in like a lump in my throat turned into something else entirely. I wasn't just hurt. I was livid. Not because I missed the dinner. Not because of the matching outfits, or the stupid fake snow backdrop my aunt always set up. But because they were fine with this. They were fine pretending I didn't exist, as long as they got to have their curated little Christmas without me. And you know what? Fine. They wanted peace? I'd give them peace. But it was going to be the kind of peace that comes after a storm. By the time the clock hit midnight, I had screenshots. So many screenshots. Aunt Janice's public Facebook album? Saved. Sadie's story with the wine clink? Screen recorded. My mom laughing in the background while holding the same embroidered napkins I made for her 2 years ago. Zoomed in. Cropped. Labeled. I wasn't collecting this stuff because I wanted to start a fight. I was collecting it because I knew they'd lie again. Because when I confronted them, which I knew I would, they'd say things like, "You're blowing this out of proportion. It wasn't personal. You're being dramatic. We didn't think you'd want to come." And I wasn't going to let them gaslight me out of what I knew they did. They wanted a Christmas without me? Cool. But they were about to learn that I don't just disappear quietly. I didn't sleep that night. Not out of sadness, but because my brain was on fire. Replaying conversations. Re-examining every little moment over the past year that now looked a lot like a breadcrumb trail. Like how Sadie forgot to mention the family trip to Traverse Bay last summer, and how my mom said it was just spur of the moment. Or how I hadn't been invited to Aunt Janice's birthday dinner, even though it was literally at the country club 3 blocks from my apartment. It had been happening for months. I was just too busy making excuses for them to see it. Until now. By morning, I had made my decision. I wasn't going to call anyone. I wasn't going to text. I wasn't going to ask. Why? They didn't deserve dialogue. They deserved consequences. So I made a post. Not a rant. Not a sob story. Just facts. Just wanted to say how grateful I am to the people in my life who don't lie to me, exclude me, and then broadcast it on social media. This year was different. Not because of the food or the gifts, but because I realized I don't have to beg to be part of a family that treats me like I'm a problem. Merry Christmas. To the found family I'll be focusing on from now on. No names. No direct callouts. Just the truth. And oh, it blew up. It didn't take long. Within an hour of posting, I had 20 notifications. Most were supportive. Friends from college. Coworkers. Even a few acquaintances who said things like, "You don't owe anyone your peace." And, "Been there, cutting off family can be the healthiest thing." And then came the DMs. First was my cousin Natalie, the walking Hallmark movie. "Hey Tess, saw your post. What's going on? Was that about the dinner?" I didn't reply. Then my mom. Text this time. "Tessa, can we talk? I saw what you posted. That was completely unnecessary." There it was. Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "I didn't mean to hurt you." Just, "That was unnecessary." Because for my mom, it's never about what she did. It's always about how I react. She followed it up with, "It wasn't meant to be personal. Things were just hectic. I didn't think you'd mind." Didn't think I'd mind? Didn't think I'd mind being lied to, excluded, and then watching the entire evening play out like a made-for-TV betrayal reel? I didn't respond to her either. Because I'd finally realized something about people like her, and Sadie, and Natalie, and the whole curated cast of our family tree. They weren't upset about what they did. They were upset I made it visible. That I ruined the illusion. The next day, Sadie posted a quote on her story. One of those passive-aggressive ones in soft script over a watercolor background. Sometimes people twist stories in their heads to justify their bitterness. Stay kind. I laughed. Because that's what this always came down to. In their world I wasn't hurt, I was bitter. I wasn't excluded, I was sensitive. I wasn't reacting, I was overreacting. But this time? People weren't buying it. I started getting DMs from extended family. Distant cousins. Even a friend of my aunt's who wrote, "I saw that post and I just want you to know. I've noticed the way they treat you. You're not crazy." I didn't realize how much I needed to hear that. Not the sympathy. The validation. Because for years, I thought maybe it was just me. Maybe I was the cold one. The distant one. The difficult daughter. The dramatic sister. But now I had evidence. And more importantly, I had clarity. I didn't block anyone. Not because I wanted to leave the door open, but because I wanted them to see me walking away without so much as glancing back. That silence? It wasn't avoidance. It was power. For years I'd been the one reaching out, initiating, smoothing over tension, patching awkward silences with polite texts and just checking in calls. I was the one who sent thank you notes after being left out, who showed up with wine and a smile, even when I wasn't invited until the last minute. But after that Christmas, I was done playing the well-behaved version of myself. The tolerable daughter. The easy sister. The one who accepted less and called it love. And as soon as I stopped playing along, the guilt campaign began. It started slow. Cautious. First came a message from Aunt Janice, the evergreening PR agent of our family dysfunction. Her text read like a bumper sticker you'd find at a discount therapy retreat. Sometimes people make mistakes. But family is forever, honey. Misunderstandings are part of life. No acknowledgement. No apology. Just a sugar-coated plea to shove the broken pieces back under the rug and pretend it hadn't sliced me open. Next came Deirdre. My mother. Not a phone call. Not a face-to-face conversation. But a voice message sent over text, because nothing says maternal remorse like a pre-recorded monologue dropped into your inbox without warning. I didn't listen to it. I watched the little waveform tremble and loop across my screen, thinking about how many times I'd tried to earn her affection. How many years I spent hoping that if I were just a little quieter, a little more helpful, a little less intense, maybe she'd see me. Then the follow-up email landed. Subject line. Can we move forward from this? Not. I'm sorry we lied to you. Not. We heard you, and we see that now. Just a vague, passive nudge to move on. Like we'd disagreed on paint colors and it was time to let bygones be bygones. But I didn't want bygones. I wanted accountability. And clearly, that was a language they didn't speak. Then came Sadie's text. Short. Offhand. Just enough to check the box. I think you're being a little dramatic, but I still love you. I didn't even make the guest list this year. Mom handled it. That was rich. Sadie had posted half the photos. She wore the same coordinated outfit as everyone else. She had tagged the whole family in her stories, except me. And now she wanted to play innocent? To brush it off like it was someone else's oversight? Please. I didn't reply to any of them. Because I finally understood something I hadn't let myself believe before. They weren't upset because they hurt me. They were upset because I stopped absorbing it quietly. Because I made it visible. They didn't care that I was excluded. They cared that the world knew it now. That people outside our curated little circle saw the cracks. That my post, carefully worded, anonymous but obvious, had hit a nerve. And worse, it had made people question them. Friends. Extended family. Colleagues. Suddenly, they had to answer for what they did. And they didn't like that one bit. So I did the one thing they never expected. I refused to engage. No tantrum. No argument. No long, emotional confrontation where I could be painted as too sensitive or difficult to deal with. Just silence. Intentional. Measured. Sharp. Instead of responding, I sat down at my desk and wrote a list. Not a should I forgive them? List. Not even a pro and con list. A boundary list. Simple. Brutal. Honest. What I would no longer tolerate. I will no longer explain myself to people who pretend not to understand. I will no longer accept a seat at a table where I'm only welcome out of obligation. I will no longer rationalize neglect as just how they are. I will no longer protect their peace at the cost of my own. And when I finished writing it, I felt lighter. Not healed. But free. Because this wasn't about burning bridges. This was about building gates. I didn't grow up imagining picture-perfect holidays. Even when I was little, Christmas at our house felt more like a performance than a celebration. The decor was always pristine. The food is immaculate. The playlist was curated like we were expecting a photographer to walk in at any moment. But underneath it all? Tension. So much tension. Deirdre, the queen of appearances, ran the show like a general. Sadie played the favorite. Everyone else played along. And I existed on the edge. Helpful, quiet, always trying to prove I belong. This year, for the first time in my life, I didn't feel the need to perform. And that realization didn't come with a bang. It came quietly, one December morning as I sat on the floor of my apartment, watching sunlight filter through my tiny, fake tree, a dollar store ornament dangling crooked on the top branch. It wasn't impressive. But it was real. I decided then and there that I wasn't going to let their exclusion define my December. They took their version of Christmas. I was going to make mine. I texted 3 people. Jade, my coworker who'd confided in me last month about skipping her family dinner because her brother's boyfriend made things tense. Marcus, my old college roommate, who'd stayed in town this year and quietly admitted he didn't have anyone to spend the day with. And my upstairs neighbor, Anna. Newly single. Not ready to go back home. Always kind, always polite, always alone. Hey! I know this is last minute. But I'm throwing together a Christmas dinner. Nothing fancy. Just food and chill vibes. You're welcome if you're free. They all said yes. And just like that, I had a guest list. I spent the next 2 days cooking, not stress cooking, not the frantic kind of cooking that used to come with my mom hovering over my shoulder, but the therapeutic kind. Stirring sauces with music playing. Chopping veggies while dancing barefoot in the kitchen. I pulled out every candle I owned, dimmed the overhead lights, and even printed little place cards as a joke. It was silly. It was cozy. It was perfect. Jade brought a bottle of wine and a bag of those weird cheese snacks I loved. Marcus showed up with a dessert platter from the bakery I mentioned once in passing. Anna came with a playlist, some stories about her latest dating horror, and a board game that had us laughing so hard we nearly forgot the food was getting cold. And for the first time in my adult life, I felt present. Not like I was trying to prove anything. Not like I was waiting for the next passive-aggressive comment, or the subtle digs about my life choices. Just me, at my table. With people who saw me, not as a role, or an obligation, or a backup guest, but as someone they chose to spend the holiday with. There was no curated photo album. No matching outfits. Just paper plates, half-burnt candles, and laughter that came from deep in the belly, the kind that doesn't need to be filtered or posted or cropped. I didn't think about my mom. I didn't think about Sadie. I didn't scroll through their photos or reread their texts or wonder what they were saying about me in group chats I was no longer part of. I just sat there, full of good food and better company, and realized something important. They hadn't taken anything from me. They had freed me. Freed me to create something better. Not flashier. Not louder. Just real. And real? Was enough. It took about 4 days for the rumors to reach them. Not that I posted anything big. I wasn't out here making some performative slideshow about healing through chosen family, or staging curated shots of my DIY dinner setup. I shared one photo. One. It was blurry, slightly off-center. Just me and Marcus, mid-laugh, Anna in the background holding up a glass, Jade doubled over in giggles with a Santa hat sliding down her head. I didn't even caption it with words, just a Christmas tree and a white heart. That was enough. Because unlike my family, I don't post to impress. I post to remember. And when people see joy that isn't performative, it makes them curious. The DMs started first. One from my cousin Melissa, someone I hadn't spoken to since we were teenagers. Hey! That dinner looked fun. Were you back in town? No, Melissa. I wasn't in town. I wasn't sitting silently at the corner of Aunt Janice's table, being passed over for group photos and dessert seconds. I was living. Then came a message from Sadie. Short. Dry. Didn't realize you were doing your own thing. Looked cute. The passive aggression practically leaked through the screen. She didn't ask how I was. She didn't say she was happy for me. Just a microdose of shade wrapped in faux interest. Classic Sadie? Then Deirdre finally chimed in. This time, she called. I didn't answer. So she texted. Saw your post. Looked like you had a lovely time. I'm glad. Maybe next year, we can all get back to doing things together. I stared at that message for a long time. Not because I was conflicted, but because I realized how long it had taken me to stop hoping for that text. To stop aching for the moment my mother might say, "We were wrong. We miss you." But this wasn't that. This wasn't remorse. This was marketing. Deirdre saw something she couldn't control, and like any good image manager, she wanted to co-opt it. My joy. My community? My new tradition? Suddenly it was valuable again, because other people had noticed it. Because it reflected well on her, if she could get close enough to touch it. I didn't respond. Not because I was bitter. Because I didn't want to open the door even a crack. Because I knew what lived on the other side of that threshold, the old habits, the casual cruelty, the forced politeness. The constant second-guessing. The mental calculus of, what version of me can they tolerate today? I'd lived like that for years. I'd eaten dry turkey and choked down fake laughter in rooms full of people who smiled for photos and whispered behind closed doors. But not anymore. This year, I'd laughed until I cried over microwaved cookies and mismatched chairs. And no one made me feel small. Not once. I owed them nothing. Not a seat. Not a plate. Not a carefully crafted explanation for why I wouldn't be coming back next year. And the best part? I wasn't even angry anymore. Just done. Done needing them to understand. Done wishing they would see the version of me I fought so hard to become. Because they never will. And for the first time? That truth didn't hurt. A year passed. Quietly. Steadily. Peacefully. It's strange how time moves differently once you stop trying to earn your place in other people's stories. Once you stop contorting yourself to fit a mold no one ever intended to let you fill. I spent that year growing in ways I didn't know I could. Not big, flashy growth. Not, I started a business. Or, I moved across the country. Or, I reinvented myself on Instagram. Growth. Just soft, steady changes. The kind you feel in your posture. In the way you walk into a room without scanning it for judgment. In the way your voice doesn't tremble when you say no, and you don't rush to follow it with 100 qualifiers. That year, I stopped apologizing for taking up space. I stopped checking their profiles, stopped waiting for birthday calls, and stopped reading between the lines of every family group chat I was quietly removed from. I didn't need them to change anymore. Because I had. Then, exactly 1 year to the day after the Christmas lie, I got the message. From Deirdre. Of course. Hi, sweetheart. I know it's been a long time. Sadie is hosting Christmas this year and asked me to reach out. We'd love to have you come by. Even just for dessert. No pressure. It would mean a lot to us to start fresh. Start fresh. Like we were just hitting restart on a board game. Like the last 24 years didn't end with them lying to my face so they could have one cozy evening without the burden of me. I didn't reply right away. Not because I needed time to think. Because I wanted to feel how not conflicted I was. And it felt amazing. So I waited a full day. Then I sent back one line. Thanks, but I'll be spending the holidays with people who like me this year. No anger. No venom. Just truth. And I meant it. That year, my holiday looked a lot like the last one. Jade brought her new girlfriend. Marcus invited his coworker who just lost her grandmother. Anna made an actual ham this time, and burned it, but we all ate it anyway. We played board games. Watched bad movies. Spilled wine. Laughed too hard. There were no photo ops. No curated centerpieces. Just joy. And later that night, as we sat around the table eating leftover pie and talking about New Year goals, it hit me. I didn't just leave something behind last year. I created something new. Something real. Not the absence of pain. The presence of peace.